What I needed was that power that God gave me to get us through what was about to happen. And not only the power, but the belief and knowledge that God can actually do something, that He is real, is not just this fancy pie in the sky thing. And it was like a nightmare had started. And when a thing that I'll never forget, a moment I'll never forget, we were sitting, there was a doctor, another doctor and a nurse here. And he looked at the doctor and he looked over at the nurse and he looked back at us and said, "Has leukemia." First time in my life I knew what your blood running cold meant, because I just went cold. He told us he will never be a father because the radiation will kill anything, that all his sperm will just be dead. He had a wee telly beside his bed and he used to sit with his legs through the thing and lean on the side of the cot watching the telly, and we couldn't move him from it. When it was on, he just sat staring like that. And the minute it finished, he drew his legs in, turned round, lay down and went into a coma. Just like that. He said, "Big Dave, you need to start planning his funeral. Because he'll never come out of this coma. He's gone. I'll tell you, he's dying and he's dead." He said, "I know what you believe, but you have to face this. You have to plan his funeral. The wee boy's not coming out of this."
Actually, maybe kind of 13, 14, they kind of started to tell me about that side of it, and that was a side effect of the treatment. But to be honest, I was that full of faith because I know I'd been healed from the leukemia anyway in a kind of miraculous way. I just thought, well, this is just another side effect that won't affect me. I'll be healed of this and I'll have my child. I get married, and after a few years of not being able to have a child, then that's when things started to change a bit. Kind of realised that I had to go to the doctors and just find out for sure, because obviously it was beginning to affect Lindsay and she was beginning to get worried about it. And so I said, right, I'll go to the doctors, and he basically just confirmed what the doctors had said years and years ago, that there was just no chance I'd be able to conceive naturally, just to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the lady as well. So they told her straight away while she was in there herself that she had a lot of damage to her fallopian tubes. One of them was completely blocked and the other one was heavily scarred, so it was basically you couldn't get anything through there. So she came out just absolutely devastated. Our relationship was beginning to strain a bit. We were just completely consumed by this thing of not having a baby yet. God was speaking to me in my whole life, and probably never since. I just knew that day that God was telling me I need to go home and put a nursery in the house. But I done it anyway. I went home and I spoke to Lindsay and I said, at this point she was kind of distraught, and I said to her, "I think God's telling me to put a nursery in the house." You are my one and only. You can wrap your fingers round my thumb.
I says, "What do you mean?" She says, "We're trusting in that tube instead of trusting in God." And I said to her, "Well, what will I do?" And she said, "Pull the tube out." And Liz said to him, "Bill, you know our beliefs. We want to give our faith a chance." He said, "I'm going to give them 24 hours. We keep it out. If it hasn't awakened and eaten by that time, it goes back in." And we said, "Fair enough." And I scrubbed up and went under. So I lifted him and he's a rag doll. And I thought, well, this is it. And I said, "David, do you want to eat something? You want something to eat?" And he just nothing for about 2 seconds. And then he went like that. He just chirped and his eyes opened. Now I'm staring at him and all I could hear was shouting and running. What I began to hear was people shouting, "David's awake, David's eating." It was joy. It was just joy in everyone. And I looked at Liz and we just knew.
are my one and only. You can wrap your fingers.
So, but I done it anyway. I went home and I spoke to Lindsay and I said, at this point she was kind of distraught. And I said to her, I think God's telling me to put a nursery in the house. Lindsay was like, you're off your head, but we'll do it anyway. So the nursery was there for about a month, and it got to the stage where Lindsay was like, you need to take that stuff out of my house. It's driving me nuts. This isn't going to happen. She was beginning to really just lose all hope, kind of thing. 4 years later, we were just completely gone, basically. We got to the usual. Lindsay used to have a pregnancy test every month, basically. It was just became routine. It was just like pregnancy test, crying. That was it. That was the routine kind of thing. And I says, come on, we'll go to the shop. So we're going out to the shop, and I didn't know that Lindsay had taken a test, but we were walking down the stairs. It was just before Christmas. She kind of leaned over and whispered in my ear, Merry Christmas, Daddy. I was like, what? And I was kind of disbelief kind of thing, and just, no, she never really said that. And I just kind of looked at her, and that's when she said that I'm pregnant. And I was like, how can you be pregnant? What are you talking about? And she says, I've just done a test, I'm pregnant.
Well, you are my one and only. You can wrap your fingers round